The last thing that we have, and we'll see how much we get done here today. Gosh darn it, it's okay. Keep asking questions. I enjoy it. Last thing we have here is obviously the food label. The book gets into some other food labels as well, the dietary supplement food label. It gets into the food label about organic. I'll make reference to a couple of things, but I'm not asking you to know all the parts and pieces of a supplement food label or a organic food label. That I want you to know a food label, okay? That you can probably guarantee is going to be on the exam, all right? So understanding the parts and pieces of a food label with a nutritional fact panel is a potential essay question on this exam. These are some of the things that have to be on there. The product's name, obviously, who made it, where they're located at, so you can send them a, mail in case you want to talk to them, tell them what a great job they're doing, because that's what people do. The amount of the product in the package, not necessarily serving size per se, but how much is in there, and a list of ingredients, generally in descending order by weight. So the first ingredient that you see in the ingredient list is the highest amount. The further down you go, the less there is. All right. So all food labels need to have these kind of four major things. Okay. Now, these are not necessarily listed on the food label. They could be on the front of the package. They could be on the side of the package, the back of the package. These things are obviously all over the place. Okay. So they're not necessarily on the food label themselves. All right. Sometimes they're a little bit further down off of it. But those four things need to be on the packaging. And these are, there's your ingredient list, high amounts, low amounts, where it's made, if there's any kind of potential allergens in there. So there's some of the fun stuff there, distributed by that in Emory, California, blah, 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 blah. So there you go. So those are those things that every label must have. Right? When it comes to the nutritional fact panel, boom, this is what you should know. Okay. Serving size and how many of them there are in the box. There could be 5, there could be 1. How much calories, how many kilocalories are within it? That needs to be on there. And that's pretty obvious. And then there are a number of other things on there. Okay. There'll be some nutrients of concern, whether that means we need to get them in our diet or keep them out of our diet. Okay. And those are the nutrients that are of concern. Okay. So what does this look like? That's what it looks like. That's what the new food label. It's called the new label here. It got updated in what years? It got updated in 2020. That was the deadline for some of the bigger companies, bigger corporations that make a lot of foods. Prior to that, it did look different. But now pretty much 2 years in, now everybody has subscribed to this. Some of your smaller food makers were given a little bit more time to get that change done. But now, a couple years after that new law went into place in January 1st of 2020, this is pretty much what it looks like. Again, there's the serving size, the serving amounts, the calories, our nutrients of concern area, some footnotes. Okay. That is the typical food nutritional fact panel, the food label. Okay. So if I asked you on the exam to describe some of these parts and pieces, what are some of the things that you should say? Serving size, obviously, was one of those things. Pay attention to the actual size. Okay. This has been modified to actually reflect how Americans eat. Okay. Sometimes the serving size on some things prior to 2020 was like, I gave some examples up there. Half of a soda. Who drinks half of a freaking soda can and then saves the rest for later? Nobody. Maybe my kid, but he's not going to go back and get it. I'm just going to have to throw it out, for gosh sakes. Okay. So they've gotten rid of that. A quarter of a cookie. Who the hell eats a quarter of a cookie? Nobody does. Okay. If there's 3 biscuits, 1 is the serving size. You open the package, you're probably going to eat all 3 of them. All right. So this has been modified quite a bit. All right. For those cases where they serve a lot of stuff that's usually a single serve thing, the entire package will be listed now as the serving size instead of 3 kernels or something stupid like that. Okay. Sometimes if there is definitely higher than a serving in a package, they will list a serving size. Okay. Let's just say it's a package of crackers. Okay. And let's just say there's 5 crackers in there. And if 2.5 or 3 are the serving size, they will list you the serving size and the entire package. Again, this is done to help reflect basically what we are doing as Americans. Okay. We actually eat the whole damn thing. All right. We don't just eat half of a bar and save it for later. Well, most people don't. Total calories. The biggest thing here is that it is in very large bold font. If you go back and look at some older ones, it is not as obvious. Okay, it may be in bold font in the old one. I can't remember at this point in my life. I think it was, but it was definitely not very big. So it's very big now. Usually the calories is for the serving size. So that is something that you do want to pay attention to. So here, I mean, it does say calories per serving, okay, 230. So if you do consume the whole box, you got to make sure you see what the serving size is and multiply that by your calories to really get an idea of how many calories you are consuming, okay? Serving size, number of servings times the calories, that's what you consume. Again, the list of nutrients, these are going to be items, and I have them kind of parsed out here in a second on the next slide. Next couple slides. Okay. But these are nutrients that we need to be aware of. Okay. There are nutrients of concern for one reason or another. Either they have negative health outcomes, or we just don't get enough of them. Iron, calcium, potassium, vitamin D, those are going to be things that we tend to not get enough of. Okay. This has changed quite a bit. Okay. This has changed quite a bit. If you go prior to 2020, these vitamins and minerals that are listed on there are different. So this new food label does reflect the vitamins and minerals that are truly deficient in our diet. So these are things that you should pay attention to, and I give a little bit as to why. Okay. You should pay attention to total fat, saturated fat, trans fat, and cholesterol. Again, these are associated with a lot more negative health outcomes. Okay. But you don't want to get rid of them to 0. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. You want to limit these as much as you want, as much as you can. Again, trans fats, 0 positive health outcomes associated with it. You want to consume as little as possible. Saturated fats associated with much more negative health outcomes. So you want to try to consume as little as possible. Cholesterol associated with much more negative health outcomes. You want to limit that as much as possible. But you still need to get it. Fat is necessary because it helps make hormones, estrogens, testosterone. So you do need some fats in your diet. Okay? It's okay. Fat is a good thing. Research shows that the type of fat is more important than the amount. Type more important than the amount. Okay. So again, if it's low in trans, low in saturated fat, low in cholesterol, that's good. You can have high in unsaturated fats. That's okay. Unsaturated fats are healthy. They're associated with more positive health outcomes. And we'll look at that in the next unit, okay? So it's the type of fat that is much more important than the amount. The video that I have you watch, hopefully here towards the end of the semester, it highlights that a lot, actually. Total carbohydrate is listed on there, but they parse it out. They include fiber, total sugars, and added sugars. All of these are carbohydrates. Okay, so all of these get added up into the carb total. Added sugars are things that you do not want a lot of. You want to try to limit it. Added sugars are associated with excess calories. They're empty, yada, 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 negative health outcomes. Total sugars can be what's naturally occurring in there plus added. Okay, so you can subtract the two and you can kind of figure out what is naturally there. Again, I made reference to this earlier. If it is a naturally occurring sugar like fructose in fruit, perfectly fine. Okay, perfectly fine. It's those added sugars that creep up on you. Fiber is a huge nutrient of concern. We in Americans don't get enough. We get, I think in the industrialized countries, I think we're pretty much last place in terms of the consumption of it. Fiber helps with so much, helps with lowering blood cholesterol, sugars, helps you feel more full so you consume less, helps with colon health. So many great things associated with fiber, and it is something that we don't get enough of, and so they do list it on the nutrient fact panel now. Protein is listed on there. Sometimes it's on the food label, sometimes it's not. It just depends. As you can kind of see there, a percent daily value is not really required with certain types of foods. Those that do have a lot of protein within it, generally they will list it on there, but it is something that may or may not be on there. It just depends on the food type and the manufacturer. Sodium is another nutrient of concern. It is something that is on there because we consume way too damn much. It is associated with high blood pressure, which can cause heart issues, can harden the arteries, more heart issues. So much more negative health outcomes with high sodium. So it is listed on there because we need to consume less. We consume too much. Vitamin D, potassium, calcium, iron, all of these are nutrients of concern because we do not get enough of. We do not get enough of. Why do we need it? Vitamin D and calcium is there for bone health. Helps to prevent osteoporosis. Potassium counterbalances sodium. We tend to not get as much potassium and we get way too much sodium, so their blood pressure goes sky high. Iron is important, especially for women, more so than men, but iron is very important for everybody. It helps to make red blood cells, which helps us to carry oxygen to muscles so we can do more work, do more activity. So red blood cells are really super duper important. Iron is incorporated into their structure and it helps them to do the work. We'll look at why and how that all happens later on this semester. One of the last things that we see on there are daily values or percent daily values, okay? Percent daily values. Percent DV is generally how you will see it, okay? Why is percent daily values there? It is a very simplified standard for people to understand. Okay. If you look at something that is high in percent daily value, and I have some there. Okay, if you're reading that food label and it says it is 20% of your vitamin A, okay, if it says its percent DV is 20% or higher, that means that food has a lot of that specific vitamin, nutrient, whatever you want to say. Okay. So that means maybe later on the day, you don't have to consume foods that have as much of those vitamins, minerals, fiber within them. If on that food label, it says the percent DV is 1%, that's really low. Okay. And if it says percent DV for vitamin C is 1, find a better food. Okay. Because you're going to have to find vitamin C somewhere, and a lot of it. So you want to choose high daily values with vitamins, minerals, fiber, low percent daily values, less than 5%, when it comes to all the bad crap in your life: saturated fat, trans fat, cholesterol, sodium, added sugars. Okay. Again, it's just a very simplified thing. That's why it was created. Okay. It's hard to remember, 2 to 6 cups. It's hard to remember I need 7 micrograms of something. If all I have to do is remember anything above 20 is high, and that's what I want to shoot for when it comes to these things, then shoot, I don't have to remember anything. I just got to remember greater than 20, less than 5. And that's why it was created. Right? You can kind of see what this was established for: vitamins and minerals, basically. Your macros, fiber, those are pretty much what it's been developed for. The caveat, and it's in bold: these percent daily values are based on a 2,000 calorie per day diet. That is what it is now. On the older food labels, they used to have a 1,500 daily value, they used to have a 2,000, and they used to have a 2,500 kilocalorie per day diet. So what does that mean? Do you consume 2,000 calories a day? If you do, that percent daily value is for you. If you are consuming 1,800 calories a day, that percent daily value doesn't mean jack squat to you. Now you got to do the M word, and I know none of you enjoy doing the M word: math. If you consume 1,000 calories a day, okay, it's pretty easy. Just divide it in half. But most of us consume a really wacky number: 1,200, 1,800, 2,200. Okay. So this is the caveat. So you got to know how many calories you eat in a day to let you know if that percent daily value means anything for you or not. The last thing that you could have on a food label, and these aren't really number related, but these are claims that you can make. Okay. There are 3 things that the FDA allows for you to claim on a food label. Okay. You can't say you can cure a disease. Okay. That gets you in trouble. Right. But a health claim is this: it shows that the food or a component of the food may reduce a risk of a disease or a health-related condition. Vitamin D with bone health helps to prevent osteoporosis. They allow structure function. Calcium helps to build strong bones. Yeah, calcium is taken, incorporated into some salts, and boom. Helps to harden up the bones and helps to make the bones stronger. Okay, so this looks at the role, the function of a nutrient, and how it can affect normal structure or function in the body. Perfectly fine, easy peasy. The last one is a nutrient content claim. Okay, this is pretty easy: just low calorie, fat-free, sugar-free. There's some semantics. to be honest, when it comes to that. Fat-free is not necessarily free, it's a percentage. So there are some semantics into it. But these nutrient content claims allow you to look quickly at the label and see, okay, it's low in calories. Okay, then this is probably going to be something that's not a huge dearth of empty calories. So I'll put that in my cart and purchase it. Okay. Or I don't want to consume a lot of cholesterol or sugar. So I look for stuff that says low cholesterol or sugar-free on it. Okay. So that's a nutrient content claim. I don't have it as an essay question. Again, number of multiple choice or matching type questions is how you see these three food labels asked. Again, what cannot be on this sucker? I can cure, I can diagnose, this can help treat the disease, yada, yada, yada. You can't put those on there. That will get you a lawsuit. And these are some examples of health claims. May help reduce cholesterol, nutrient, high in fiber, low in sodium.